Hey guys, it's Christiana. I'm at the Historical Museum at Fort Missoula for our Missoula Gives Day, and today I'm going to be doing a craft in the Homestead Cabin. It's an easy weaving craft, so feel free to follow along, and if you don't have the materials you can always come back and do it later. It is a gorgeous day here at the fort, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a look around here, and then I'm going to show you the inside of the Homestead Cabin. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions about weaving or about the Homestead Cabin or Fort Missoula or Missoula Gives, just holler in the comments there. Also, feel free to say hi so I know I'm not by myself. So here's what the fort looks like today. Let's see if it'll turn around for me. It's a beautiful day. We can see the barracks out there and the schoolhouse and the depot. You can see mountains with snow, forestry interpretive area, lots of dandelions, but that's good for our bees. And you can see the main museum building and the NCO quarters over onto the cool wagon that's out here at the Homestead Cabin. We've got some buds on the tree out here, our corral, and then where we're going to hang out today is the Hayes Homestead Cabin. So this cabin actually came from Potomac, and so it has a good connection to that part of Missoula County. Some of the high school students there was a work project to take it all apart and put it back together here, so that was a couple decades ago, I think, but there are a lot of folks that also feel connected to the Homestead Cabin. And I just wanted to point out, if you are on one of your social distancing strolls, even though the museum's not open right now, each of our buildings have one of these very informational signs next to them, and then you can even use this nifty little QR code. A lot of the newer phones, you don't even have to have a QR code reader to check it out, and that'll bring you to more information about it. So yeah, so let's head on inside, and then we'll get started on our craft in a moment. I see my friend Emily is there. Emily, be amazed, I found the plastic needles. Emily is my AmeriCorps intern, so she knows that I hide things from myself in different cabinets and never can find them, but I found them. Okay, so we are in the Homestead Cabin. As I mentioned earlier, it came from Potomac. It was used as a lodging place for folks that were working for Mr. Hayes out there, mostly folks working in timber. But we have it set up to look like a turn-of-the-century homestead cabin. You probably are thinking this is not that large, or maybe you know things about homesteading and you think this is a really big homestead cabin. Well, you are both right. So our homestead cabin has 2 stories. And it's pretty established. So if you were first coming out to Homestead, you probably would have had more of a little shack. But this one's, maybe we're thinking this is their second house here. So we can see some spare wagon parts. We've got a bed over here and our sort of dressing table. 10 points for anybody who can tell me what this artifact is there. I'll check back with you later. We have our laundry, our washer right there. And then kind of taking a stroll around here, we've got a stove, which would have been obviously important for warmth and food. Did anybody know that the waffle iron was patented in the 1840s? So yeah, you could have had waffles in the Homestead Cabin. That's pretty cool. Come on over here. Sorry if I'm making anybody dizzy. We've got our bathtub. So how'd you like taking a bath in one of those guys? And then this guy here was donated by our friends Dale and Kobe Johnson, and it's a kitchen queen. So those bottom drawers there would have been, the left one could have been flour and the right one could have been sugar. Got a fancy vacuum cleaner here. It's one of those rolling types. You probably have seen ones like that today. You can still buy them. Obviously not electric, and they've got the little rollers on the bottom to pick up stuff. And now back to our crafting station. I'm going to use my handy dandy coffee grinder here, also donated by Dale and Kobe Johnson, to hold my phone so that I can get us set up. So, extreme close up. There. So how's everybody's Friday going? Anybody have fun crafting plans for the weekend? Maybe you're gonna do some weaving, make yourself a coaster. So what we're making today, I'm gonna show you the picture from my instructions, and then I'll show you what it might look like. Okay, so here is one of your options for a final product there. I'm not gonna make pom-poms today, but it's a real simple weaving project that you can make it as elaborate as you'd like. You can add beads at the bottom, but we'll get started with what you need to do this. So we have these cardboard looms here. I know, pretty high tech. So we have a piece of cardboard that I've hot glued another piece of cardboard on. The wind just closed my door. And I've cut some slats, little slots in the bottom here, kind of equidistant apart. And that's what's gonna hold our warp. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take thread, yarn, whatever you've got around, and we're gonna weave it between the warps. So this will become our weft thread. Now, I have to let you in on a little secret. My mother-in-law, Diana Hackenberger, is an extremely good weaver, so I hope she's not watching. Diana, are you watching? Because I am not a weaver. And at the end, I'll show you how to pull it off and tape the back and add little bits and pieces to it if you want to. So we'll get started here. Remember this, even though this video is live, you can access it again later. So if you do watch a little bit of this and then decide that you want to do this with some kiddos this weekend, then you can always access it then. And I'll also add the link to the instructions online as well. First off, has anybody been doing any donating for Missoula Gives? So today is our big fundraising day for Missoula County and the Bitterroot, and there's all sorts of really cool organizations that are fundraising today, not just the Historical Museum, but I know the Food Bank in Missoula is on the fundraising platform, and the Humane Society of Western Montana, Free Cycles, they make cool bikes with people. There's just so many really neat nonprofit organizations in Missoula, and I'm sure if you don't live in Missoula, there might be an organization like a giving day like this too that you could give to. So I know that for a lot of folks right now, it's not a time where they can give money, but then it's also important to remember that if you are struggling right now, there are a lot of nonprofits out there whose mission is to help people. So if you need food, there's probably a food bank in your community like ours. If you need pet food, I know Anna Meals is also helping. Let's see. Oh yeah, I just heard that we're 6 donors away from getting $100,000 released. So one of our, or I think it's our board, one of our boards has agreed to donate $1,000 if we reach, I think it's 72 donors or something like that. So we just need 6 more people to donate like $5 or more if you feel like it. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing those warp threads that I told you. It doesn't really matter what color it is, but you can be picky. I'm just picking the ones that have the right size for. So you can see I've just stuck it into the notches there, and then on the back there's just some extra. So I'll keep going until I get all of my warps sorted out. I'm just using literally the scrap pile of the yarns today, but you could be more fancy if you'd like to be. So we'll throw a red one in there. Oh, I think I forgot tape. You knew I was gonna forget something, but that's okay. I'll tell you why you might like tape and why it's gonna be okay that I don't have tape. For any of you out there who have been an intern of mine, this pile of yarn is probably going to look familiar. Okay, we are getting there. Oh, I also just saw the update, maybe you guys are seeing it too, that for the community, the Bitterroot and Missoula Gives, total we've gotten more than $500,000 in donations in less than 24 hours. So that's really awesome to see how people are really, you know, using that stimulus money, if you got it, to support our local nonprofits and organizations that are doing awesome stuff out in the world. So good job, us. Pat on the back. Let's see, I think my friend Vanessa is watching there. She's in Orange County. Vanessa, do you know, is there a giving day for Orange County as well? Do they do like a Orange County Gives or something like that? I think they probably do, but I'm not sure. Uh-oh, I am running out of short pieces. I may have to bust out the scissors. Oh no, it's okay, there's an orange. I meant to look up some really cheesy jokes to tell as I was getting this done. If only Trevor was here. My husband's really good at the dad jokes. Okay, I got one. What do you call a dinosaur who's asleep? Anybody got that one? Emily, any guesses? What do you call a dinosaur who's sleeping? A dino snore. This one's too long. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here's our last one. We'll call it good for this one. Okay, so I've got all my warped threads here. And then if you have a plastic needle available to you, these are really great to thread to use here to do your weaving. But if you don't, you can use a popsicle stick. Snoozosaurus. Oh, I like it. Yep, it's a good one. Gonna grab. So I did not think I'd be able to find my plastic needle, so I brought out this little popsicle stick. You could totally just tie some thread to that to use it as well. You don't need it to be too technical. Now, if I had remembered the tape, I would tape down my extra length of thread in the back here. But since I didn't, I'm just gonna deal with it. Probably if you're working with a little kiddo, best to just tape these guys down. Kind of like on this one that's sort of partially done. You can see they've just got that edge taped there. And that'll be good for when you want to tie it off at the end. Okay, so now we get to pick a color. And I'm gonna try and find so now I'm finding the short threads. Let's go with this nice bright yellow, if I can find the end. And I'm just gonna cut a chunk off of this one so that I can do different colors. Almost lost my scissors on the way over here. So is anybody out there not living in Missoula? What's your weather like? It's something like, I don't know, it's maybe supposed to be in the 60s today in Missoula. It's really beautiful outside. But we've been having these very Montana weather patterns where it's like hot one day and then rainy another day. Okay, so now I have my thread on my needle. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go into those warp threads and go under one and over another and under and over until I get to the end. And then I'm gonna pull it through so that I just leave a little tail on the very end. And then I'm gonna go back around and do the other side. Ooh, I've got a warp thread here that does not look like it wants to stay on there. So you can just leave it flat. I'm gonna turn this just a little bit so you can see. You can use just leave your loom flat there and just go over, under, over, under. And if this doesn't make sense, it'll make sense when we get to the next part. Okay. And then I'm going to pull this all the way through. Sorry, it's hard to get this on there with the light and having to try to hold this in my hand, but pulling this through until I just leave a little tail, so hang on a second. Bear with me. Okay, got my yellow guy, pulling it through, pulling it through, pulling it through, pulling it through. If you have real little kiddos, you can tie it to the warp thread at the end, but you can leave a little tail, and we'll talk about how to finish it when we get there. All right, so what it looks like now is I've done the first of my weft, I believe, threads there, and now I'm gonna come back the other way. So the important part is I ended with an under, so that means I'm gonna go over top of that one to go back so that I don't end up undoing all my work. And it kind of alternates over and under. And we pull it through. We don't have to worry about the tail on this one because it'll just come right around the end of that first warp thread. Okay, so we ended on an over, so we'll start on an under. And we'll go back through, under, over, under, over, under, over. And we'll go through some more. And then I like to just snug it up at the end there so we don't have any loose spots. Okay, so this one ended on an under, which means the first thing we'll do with the needle is go over for the next one. And we go over, under, and keep going. Don't worry guys, I'm not gonna make you sit through all of this. We're gonna use the magic of Facebook Live and go to a semi-finished one. So this is a craft that we've done in the past with our history camp. So history camp, for those of you who aren't that familiar with it, it's a camp that we offer once a summer for kids between the ages of about 8 and 12. And we use the Homestead Cabin here as a home base, but then we travel a couple times a week out to other cool places that are historic around the community. Like we go out to the Moon Randolph Homestead, so if you haven't been out there, it's definitely a cool place to visit. They're usually open on Saturdays, so hopefully once this whole social distancing thing we're able to ease up a little bit, then you can go out and visit that out in the North Hills. But anyway, we take the kids out there to see a real homestead cabin, and we've gone to places like the Daly Mansion, which is the complete opposite end of the spectrum as far as wealth goes, and we've gone to the St. Mary's Mission in Ravalli County, and we've gone to the 9 Mile Ranger Station. So we try to do a combo of using our site to talk about Western Montana history, and then also utilizing the rest of the community, and it's been a really great partnership for everybody that we've visited before. So hopefully we'll get to do that again this summer. The camp, I believe it's about $150, but we are able to give a couple scholarships because of donations from wonderful people like you folks. So they don't just do weaving though. At the end of the week, we invite them to design a feast for their families, and the last day of camp, the kiddos make everything. They learn how to make butter, they make biscuits, and we make a stew, and then we invite all their families there. And for a lot of those kiddos, even the older ones, they might not have ever even helped with dinner before, although now that we're all quarantined, my next batch will probably have chopped a vegetable before, I bet. So it's been a great experience, and they like having a craft like this, where what we do is we introduce it on the first day and then come back later. That's kind of their downtime project where they can work on something like this. We do so many different things at history camp that when I do have kids that are like not into weaving, which is totally fine, I just remind them that, they're not going to love everything we do, but nothing is going to be a forever project, and if you don't like something, within a half hour we'll be doing something different. So just hang in there and respect your buddies. So I'm sure you guys with kids are familiar with that too. I see my cousin Kim Honeycutt's there. Hi Kim, I miss you. Okay, so we ended one more line of weaving and it ended on an over. So we're gonna start on the under for this one and we'll go under, over, under, over, under, over, and keep going till we get to the end of the warps. Speaking of cool partnerships, if you've been out to the fort before, you might have seen a weaving or spinning demonstration here at the Homestead Cabin by someone who's more crafty than me. And a lot of those folks come to us from the Weavers Guild. And the Weavers Guild is a group of folks that are interested in weaving and sharing their weaving knowledge and that sort of thing. And they meet here, I think, a couple times a year at our T1 building. And so if you are interested in like really weaving with looms, like, you know, floor looms and things like that, then you can check out the Missoula Weavers Guild. They're great people. Again, my mother-in-law's in it. She's a great person. Kim Honeycutt, I could send you the directions to this so you guys could do this at home. I've found that my AmeriCorps and my interns during history camp, when things get a little bit crazy, because it always does, because we have a lot of fun, and we have 8 to 13-year-olds, they are the ones I find sitting in the rocking chair weaving at the end of the day while we're waiting for parents to pick things up. So it can be very therapeutic. Okay, I'll do one more and then I'll show you how to finish this project. Okay, so this one, again, we ended on the under. And so then we'll start over, under, over, under, over, all the way across. And you know, you might be thinking, well, how am I gonna know if I'm doing the right over or under? You'll know because you'll start kind of unraveling yourself if you do an under where you're supposed to do an over, make a little gap. But they're pretty easy to fix too. Okay, so what if I don't want to just use my whole yellow? Well, you can pull your yarn out and then pick up another color, like orange, and just leave yourself a little tail at the end, and you can either weave that back in or you can just tape it to the back if you're not worried about being too fancy there. So we are starting with the orange, and we'll start with an over, and we'll go across. Same deal as before. Over, under, over, under, over, under. And then, whoops, we're gonna pull this all the way across until we just leave a little couple-inch tail on the orange. And then, since we ended on an over, we're gonna start on an under and go across, over, under, over, under, over, under. And there are different tutorials on Pinterest. If you Google like easy weaving or cardboard loom or something like that, you can see different ways to make like coasters or bookmarks. This one's sort of just gonna turn out into a wall hanging. Maybe I'll send it to my mom for Mother's Day, because my mom needs more crafts on her walls. Now my mom is super crafty. So I have a very crafty mother-in-law and a very crafty mom. Okay, so we're gonna pretend that we're done with this one. And so it's got a couple of tails there that we can deal with later. But to end it, you're gonna tie together the first and the second, the third and the fourth, you know, and so on and so forth into pairs. And then you can decide what to do with it after that. I'll show you some options for that. So I'm gonna pull this guy off. And if you are doing this with kiddos, this part might take a little bit more help. So I'm just gonna pull off 2 at a time. And time. And that'll just keep them from unraveling. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, like everything that was woven in the past. I mean, it's still woven now, but it's, you know, comes from factories and things like that. But you know, dish towels, your clothes, your sheets, all that kind of stuff was woven. We have a really amazing textile collection here at the fort. I know our curator Ted's looking to do more exhibits with those as well. We did have the quilt exhibit last summer, and I loved that one. It was really fun to get some of our quilts out. We have about 50,000 artifacts that we take care of here at the museum, and each one of them, depending on what it's made out of, has different requirements as far as its care. So we have all of our textiles stored separately. Different kinds of materials can do something called off-gassing. And then say you have wood and ceramics in the same place, and I'm just using this as an example. I don't know if they're actually bad together. You know, something that the ceramics is doing might increase the possibility of the wood rotting. So it's definitely pretty technical as far as collections care goes. And we're lucky that we've got Ted and our wonderful museum assistant Anne working on that. Plus we have great volunteers who've helped us with the documentation and all of that. We'll be happy to have them back. Uh-oh, I didn't end up with even numbers on this one, so I'm actually going to do the last three together. So, oh, that's a little short one. Oh dear. It's cool, it's fine, it's art. Helps if you stick your tongue out. I'm sure most of you know that though. All right, anybody have questions about the fort or Missoula Gives or the Homestead Cabin or what my favorite dinosaur is? Anything like that? Okay, so now we have the ends are finished there, and we'd go ahead and do the same thing with that one. Now with our little bits that are hanging in there, you can take that needle back and then just reweave it. Just kind of stick that under, over, into the back here. Or if you're not feeling like being that fancy, if you're going to hang it up on the wall, then you can just take a piece of tape and just tape it on the back there, some masking tape. Ooh, yes, Kim, good idea. An excellent dollhouse rug. Okay, so now we'll finish with this guy. Yeah, we'll finish with this guy. So I'm just going to repeat what I was just doing. Oh no, I'm making a mess of this. I've ruined a project from a different class here. Okay, I think I've saved it. Hey, Kim Honeycutt, what is the weather like in Gilroy right now? Is it a billion degrees? Okay, so I'm tying this one again. I'm going to cut it shorter because it's kind of annoying being so long. Okay, so again, you get to watch me do this part again. Anybody out there have any guesses about how many people we serve through our mostly free educational programs? 10 points for the person who gets the closest. How many people do we serve through our mostly free educational programs? Oh, Kim says it's 80 and sunny in Gilroy. Gilroy is the garlic capital of the world, for those of you who are watching and didn't know that. Okay, and for those of you who just jumped on, I'm showing how to finish one of these little weaving projects here. So I'm just tying each of the warp threads together, or two of them together, and then I'll show you how to hang it up as well. So for organized educational programs, and that doesn't count 4th of July, we see 250, very nice. So in a full year, we see about 6,000, 6,000 to 7,000 people through organized educational programs. So that could be a field trip, or it could be something we do downtown, or it could be history camp or history day. Jessie knows the real number because Jessie's good at numbers. Jessie, what is our real number? She's going to tell us for sure, because Jessie is our development director and she keeps track of all these numbers. I find them for her and then I give them to her and then I forget. So somewhere around 6,000 though. She can correct me. And I think we do about 200 programs, which I'm pretty proud of because, you know, we have a great team at the fort and everybody's very helpful. You know, I can drag Jesse out to the fire lookout for a field trip if I get stuck without volunteers, but primarily we do all of this with volunteers and myself, and we're able to do our programs, our field trips for free because of Missoula County's support. So I'm pretty happy to be the education director here, even when Jesse makes me do live crafts. It's actually pretty fun. I'm having a good time. So I promise I'm almost done. I'm going to show you how to finish this. Yeah, Kim, you're way off. It's okay, I still love you. There we go. Jesse says, last year we had 7,329 participants in our 207 educational events. And it felt like we did too. It was a busy year. So I can't wait till we can host small events and things like that here. I think this summer, you know, as soon as the governor says it's okay to have small groups, then we can have, you know, little craft activities out here at the homestead or demonstrations of, you know, all kiddos love doing chores at the homestead cabin. Unfortunately, that doesn't always translate to doing chores at home, but, you know, we can use our old-fashioned washing machine to do laundry, and we can do all sorts of fun stuff with proper sanitation, of course, which we are working on figuring out. And we didn't get to do Archaeology Day this year, but maybe we'll get to do it in the fall or something like that. So it's a pretty fun place to be. Okay, so we have this that looks like it could be a coaster. You can see that the person who finished this one already wove in their little odds and ends from each different color. And then another way that you could finish this is to make it a wall hanging. So I just found this cool stick outside, and then I'm gonna attach the top of this guy to my cool stick, and then we'll be done. So okay, so I know I have Jesse and Kim, and I saw Emily on there earlier. Is there anybody? I see that there are 6 people watching right this second. And so who else is out there? If you are watching, say hello and tell me who you are and where you live, so I can see if I've got a bunch of my California folks out there, or if I've got some Missoula folks watching. Is anybody watching at the beginning and remembers what the name of this homestead cabin is? It has to do with the name of the person, name of the family that donated it to us. Also starts with an H. Oops. Okay, last one. Everybody else out there is shy. They don't want to tell me who they are. Okay, so imagine I'm 10, then this is really awesome that I just made. So I just used the stick that I had from outside. Oh, I should probably have done it on this side so it was a little bit nicer. Okay, just kidding. Here we go. So I've got my stick and I've tied it to the top there, and I could trim these little straggly guys so it's a little neater. And then on the bottom, if I had something like pony beads or something else like that, I could string some beads on there to help it hang. And then you could hang it up on your wall. Hi, Janet. And Janet, do you come to Crafternoons? I think I know who this Janet is. But if I don't, whichever Janet you are, welcome. So you could hang this up on the wall. It could be one of your souvenirs of your quarantine time, doing crafts with your kiddos, or doing crafts on your own because it's fun to do crafts. And that's a great way to use up scraps. I think that's about it. So I showed you. If you're just joining, you can always go back and check out all the step-by-step stuff. It is Janet, my crafting friend. and then you can go back through and make your own. But again, all you really need is some cardboard. Works well if you can hot glue something there just so you have some more space to get over and under your warps. And if you have a plastic needle, that works great. If you don't, you can use a popsicle stick to do it, or you can even use your fingers, but it might be easier like this. You can use all kinds of random yarn scraps that you have, and then you can adorn it with beads and hang it on a cool stick that you find on your walk. And then while you're doing this, you can just imagine that if everything you wore or used was actually woven and that you had to do it, how much more time it would take than if you could just buy a dish towel at Walmart, or if you're lucky like me, you could have a mother-in-law who weaves really excellent dish towels, because that's where I get mine. So, all right guys, well, unless anybody has any questions. Oh, Jessie just pointed out, yep, sorry I missed that. Christina, yes, this is the Hayes Homestead Cabin. Excellent work there. And then Jessie just pointed out that we just need 5 more donors to get an additional $1,000. So if anybody's got a spare $5 that they can throw at our Missoula Gives campaign, you can just go to Missoula Gives and search for us. Or if you are my Facebook friend, you can click on the link that I posted earlier, and then I get credit for it, which is nice. Not that I'm competitive at all. Haha. So I just got distracted. But yes, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. And remember that the fort is a really great place to go walk around when you're getting your fresh air with your family. Just remember to keep 6 feet between you and strangers, but there's 32 acres here, so there's a lot of space to do that. So thanks for joining me. This is the first time I've ever done a Facebook Live for crafts. I'll probably do it again because this was pretty fun. Have a wonderful day.